We're going to talk about some of the horrible things that mechanics do. And I throw that term out there, mechanic, very vaguely. You have these people out there, that Uncle Joe who tells you he's a mechanic, and he's not a mechanic. You have guys who's been changing their oil in their car since they're 16. They call themselves mechanics. They're not mechanics. This is some of the stuff. This isn't stuff that, I mean, this is real world stuff I see on a daily basis, fixing other people's problems. First and foremost, something that's dangerous we're going to discuss. And that's going to be putting the brakes backwards. So here's some brakes like this, right? And what I've seen this. I mean, I've taken them off. The brakes go against the caliper like this. Well, people will put them like this. People will put the brakes on backwards. I've taken brakes off like this, where people put them on backwards. If you're the type of person that put brakes on backwards, don't ever touch a car. I mean, you'll get away with it if you're 16 or something like that. So that's one thing I've seen. Backward brakes. Now, that's one of the most dangerous that I've seen, okay? That's just one of the... These are extremely horrible mistakes that mechanics make. I've seen this real world, real life situations. The other thing I've seen this personally. I've seen disc brake quiet. Okay, got disc brake quiet. You're supposed to spray this. So this is the friction material right here. And if you read the back of it, it says, I'll read it to you. Direction, read entire label before using this product. Apparently they didn't read that. Remove brake pads and clean with brake clean, brake parts cleaner. Shake well and spray evenly onto the steel back. This is the steel back. This is the friction material. This is the steel back. You're supposed to spray it on the steel back. I see people spray it on here and on the rotor. I've seen that several times. They spray it right here on the actual pad and put it on there. I mean, that's dangerous. If you're somebody who does that, don't be working on cars. So we'll put that as a brake squeal. I mean, those are pretty dangerous when you think about them. That's extremely dangerous. If you're somebody who's doing that crap, you shouldn't be touching a car. Unless you're like 12 years old, you shouldn't be touching a car. You really shouldn't. Here's another thing. I mean, bear with me. Try use your imagination. They go to change the oil, okay? They take out the transmission fluid. They think they're taking out the engine oil. They take out the transmission fluid, drain the transmission, and then put oil, and put 5 quarts of oil into the oil. So now they have 10 quarts of oil, or 8, 9 quarts of oil in the engine oil, and they have no transmission fluid, okay? If you're somebody like that, don't be working on your car. I mean, don't trust people just because they say they know how to work a car. They've been changing their oil since they've been 16 years old. Don't trust people like this to work on your vehicle. So, let's see. I don't even know what that's called. We'll just call that beyond stupid. That's beyond stupid. Because you can tell it's not engine oil when you're taking it out. Sometimes it looks a little bit similar. One of the other things, and I'll give you a small, quick demonstration. People cross-thread. People who are supposedly mechanics, they cross-thread. And they cross-thread the heck out of stuff. This bolt right here is I'll get you a little bit on. This bolt is a 7/16 by 20, which means it's 7/16 wide, and there's 20 threads per inch. Okay, now metric goes differently. Like, for example, metric says 12, which is 12 millimeter, which is not 7/16, and it goes by 1.75. And 1.75 means there's 1.75 millimeters in between the threads. Okay, so that's a difference right there. So this fits on here properly. And you can see it goes on there. And this is like a lock washer or whatever. But I'll just show you real quick. Demonstration. Start off by hand. Well, if you notice right here, the threads are not damaged. That's because it's the correct size. Now we'll just reverse that off of there. Now I'm trying to give you a quick demonstration exactly. But if you cock it in sideways like this, and then you start running it down sideways, it's going to cross thread. But just for this video, this bolt is a 12 millimeter. This is a 12 by 175. Okay, these people grab the wrong bolts, put them in the wrong location or whatever. So they start it like this, right? Oh, look, it fits. It starts. Oh, look, must be good, right? But we've damaged the threads, is what we've done. And this isn't the worst case scenario, but you can see, though, the threads have been rounded, and they're damaged. So they throw in the wrong bolts, they cross-thread them, they put them sideways. That's one another horrible things that mechanics do. So-called mechanics do, right? One of the other things, I mean, this is stuff I see, pretty much almost daily, or, hear about it or whatever. Another thing is, so we'll put that as cross thread. This is what your Uncle Joe does to your car. Cross thread. This is just one out of 100 different things I could tell you. I don't even know what categories these would go into. But this is the thing. Actually, if you're 14, 15-year-old and you're watching these videos, this is the thing you got to look out for. So, another thing is using the wrong fluid. In Toyota power steering, it says power steering fluid. But then if you look closely at the small writing, it says ATF fluid. And you can probably get away with it, but if you're mixing the two, you're going to have a problem. Some transmissions, automatic transmissions, they use different types of fluids, specific type of fluids that you have to use. You just have to use specific additives, specific fluids. You got the ATF plus 3, ATF plus 4, and everything else. For the Chryslers, you have the different transmission fluids for the Mercedes, and mechanics put the wrong fluids and they can ruin your transmission. If you put ATF in your power steering, it's probably not going to do too much of a big deal. If you put, power steering in your ATF, who knows? Using the wrong fluid. You can't put .5 brake fluid in .4 and vice versa. You can't do that. And I see that all the time. People put just the wrong fluids in the wrong things. Another important, expensive, potentially dangerous, expensive thing is people get the timing wrong. They get the timing wrong. So what they do is they put a timing belt. Let's say here's a timing. Here's a cam and crank. All right. So you go like this, and it goes around here, and it goes around here. And here's the timing mark here, and here's the timing mark here, and here's the timing mark here, and here's the timing mark here. And here's the timing mark here, and then the timing mark's right here. So you got everything lined up, but you got that one wrong. And you don't turn it over by hand down here 720 degrees, which is 2 full rotations, once, twice, and then you realize that it's messed up, because when you put it on and there's a little bit of slack on the timing belt, and then you go to start that engine, it's going to break your valves in the worst case scenario. In some cars it doesn't do it, if you're lucky, if it's a non-interference engine. And I've seen this, and you know, people have watched my videos and done this and try to fucking blame me. I kid you not. They have watched my video and say, well, and really that's why I put that disclaimer in front of my videos, because you can't blame me for your stupidity. If you've never done a timing belt and you're ruining your car, that's your own fault. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, I'm putting this information out there really for mechanics or you know, people at a shop. Not everybody works at dealerships. If you're at a shop and you look on my video, you're going to know the tools you need to use. You're going to know, or for the lady who's looking to see how much it costs and they tell her $1,000, and she gets to see really how much work is involved. If you're somebody who has never changed your brakes and you try to change your timing belt and you're doing crap like this, don't be working on your car. Just don't be doing it. You have to turn it 720 degrees by hand before you put everything back. Don't blame the guys on YouTube for showing you something and you're doing it wrong. I mean, people could show you how to do anything in your life, but if you do it wrong without practice, you can't blame everybody for your own problems. So, that's another thing. Another thing is misdiagnosis. Or your Uncle Joe listening to some idiot who's a friend of his, who's misdiagnosing his car, and he's just changing parts just to change parts. They'll change oxygen sensor, they'll change a computer, they'll change this and that and this and that. Never fixes the problem. They misdiagnose the customer, and at the end ends up having to pay for all of this. Unnecessary. Sometimes it can be fixed without any money involved. That's another common major mistake, that horrible mistake that mechanics, or so-called mechanics, make. And yeah, basically wasting money. So we'll put that as a misdiagnosis. I would say another thing, though, another thing that a lot of shade tree mechanics or Uncle Joe mechanics or whatever, they use the wrong tool for the job. If you got a Japanese car, I see people with Japanese cars using metric tools. They say, oh, use a 3/4 to take off the wheels, which is fine, whatever, or, 15/16 or whatever to take off the crank pulley bolt or whatever. They're using the wrong tool for the job. They're damaging the head of the bolt. If you're using standard stuff on the Japanese car, don't be working on a car, and don't be letting that person work on your car. Most everything nowadays, even American cars, Ford and Chevy and Chrysler, they use all metric, almost exclusively all metric. If you see somebody using their standard crap, and I've seen this, I mean, this is like a daily thing. I see this all the time. If they're using standard SAE 3/4 or 1/2 inch, 7/16, 15/16, 1 inch on their Japanese made car, don't let that person work on your car. Or don't be working on your own car if you're that person doing that. So this is some of the things that I've thrown out there. I mean, I've seen, this is firsthand experience, things that I've seen that I have to deal with. And that stuff right there, putting the brakes on backwards, putting the brake squeal on the actual friction surface, draining the transmission fluid and double filling the engine oil, cross-threading every single bolt they put, not just one, but pretty much every bolt they put is cross-threaded. Getting their timing wrong because they watched a YouTube video once and they've never changed a timing belt with it without anybody's help, you're going to get it wrong. And I try my best when I make my timing belt videos, but I mean, I've done I've probably done either 100 or more timing belts in my life. And, you know, sometimes I even get it wrong. It takes 1 or 2 different times to get it because the belt slips. Here's the pulley and the belt slips off when you're trying to tighten it and everything. You have to turn it over 720 degrees at the bottom. Misdiagnosis, though. People are just replacing parts. Replace this, don't fix it. Replace this, don't fix it. That $300, don't fix it. $400, don't fix it. $200, don't fix it. $50, don't fix it. Misdiagnosis. If somebody's working on your car and they're doing that type of stuff and it ain't fixing none of the problems, and don't get it mistaken for if you take your car and has 4 different codes and the real mechanic just fixes one of the codes, don't get it twisted for that. That's not the same thing, because if you're just paying to have one code taken care of, you know, he's still a good mechanic. But he'll let you know what he's fixing and why he's fixing it and everything. But if you have one code and they keep replacing parts and parts and parts and parts and parts, and you don't fix the problem, don't let that person, it's not a real mechanic. Don't let him work on your car. So, thanks for watching. Stay smart. Get yourself a good mechanic that is trusted, and don't let people that are uneducated and have no experience work on your vehicle. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe.